welcome to our deep dive today
Yeah.
into Utopia.
Love it.
And as always, we're going to be pulling in all sorts of interesting sources.
For sure.
But the one that we're really diving deep on today is Fredric Jameson's Archaeologies of the Future.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
It's a big one.
it is a really big one.
Yeah. So,
We're only doing part 1 today.
right.
So we'll see how far we get.
Sounds good.
So I guess just to kick things off,
Yeah.
what is Utopia?
Well, it's funny because Utopia is all about these idealized societies, right?
Yeah.
But it always seems to reveal something about the anxieties or the time period when it
Okay.
was created,
Right.
So it's a concept that's always kind of in flux.
Yeah.
It's not static.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
So how could we even define it then?
well, I mean, at its core, it's both a literary genre
Okay.
and a political idea.
Gotcha.
So it's a way of exploring what alternative societies could look like.
But in a way that always kind of reflects the hopes and fears
Yeah.
of the people who are writing those utopias.
Totally.
Jameson actually digs into this a lot in Archaeologies of the Future.
Yeah, and so I imagine how we perceive Utopia
Mm-hmm.
has drastically changed over the years,
Yeah.
especially after big events like the Cold War.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, during the Cold War, Utopia kind of got this bad rap.
Okay.
It became almost synonymous with totalitarian regimes,
Oh, wow.
like Stalinism.
Okay.
It was seen as this sort of system that disregards human flaws
Interesting.
and instead pushes for this kind of enforced conformity.
Okay, right. Yeah, so a pretty dark turn
Yeah.
for a concept that's supposed to be about
Yeah.
hope and positive things.
Yeah, and that was further fueled by certain thinkers on the left
Okay.
who saw any sort of powerful central state
Uh-huh.
as inherently oppressive.
Interesting.
Utopian in a bad way. And they argued instead for embracing difference
Okay.
as a way to counter those systems.
Gotcha. Yeah.
A little bit more chaotic.
How do we reconcile all these
Yeah.
contrasting ideas about what utopia is?
Yeah, I mean, that's where Jameson's concept of the utopian impulse comes in.
Okay.
He argues that this impulse goes beyond just specific utopian texts
Okay.
and actually permeates our daily lives.
So it's not just about
Yeah.
reading Thomas More or Plato. It's something that's
Yeah.
more ingrained in our actions.
Yeah, it's this fundamental human drive
Okay.
to create better systems, even on a really small scale.
Interesting.
So you can see it in
Okay.
the way a building is designed, or
Uh-huh.
the yearning to connect with the original source of a text.
Yeah.
Going back to the Greek or the Hebrew,
Yeah.
or even just an intellectual's deep-rooted connection to writing.
Okay.
It's this kind of inherent desire for a kind of perfection, even if we don't always realize it.
Yeah. And I bet you a lot of our listeners can relate to that.
Totally.
It's when you're daydreaming about a more fulfilling job or a more harmonious family life
Yeah.
or a more just society.
Exactly.
That's kind of that utopian impulse at work.
Yeah, that's the utopian impulse.
It's interesting.
So when we zoom out and look at the bigger picture,
Okay.
you can see that this utopian impulse is
Yeah.
really this core part of human nature.
Yeah.
It's this desire to transcend our limitations
Uh-huh.
and envision a better world, even if actually achieving it
Yeah.
remains elusive,
Yeah, for sure. So shifting gears a bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the city as a utopian image.
Okay.
Why is it that so many utopian works
Uh-huh.
depict these
Yeah.
grand, sprawling urban landscapes?
Yeah, well, the city acts as this canvas, to project our utopian ideals.
Yeah.
It stands in stark contrast
Yeah.
to the village,
Okay.
which was often seen as a reflection of the cosmos.
Interesting.
The city becomes a symbol of human progress
Okay.
and our ability to shape and control our environment.
It's just like saying we're not just bound by nature anymore.
Exactly.
We can create our own world.
Yeah, we can create our own world, and
Oh.
and this idea of separating utopia from the everyday world
Okay.
is also really fascinating.
Okay.
Think about King Utopus's trench in More's Utopia.
Okay.
It's literally this division
Okay.
between the ideal and the empirical.
So drawing a line in the sand and
Yes.
saying here begins utopia.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's interesting to think about how that connects to modern public works projects.
Okay.
The ambition to reshape our physical surroundings
Mhm.
to create something grand
Yeah.
and transformative.
Yeah.
Like that reflects that same utopian impulse.
Yeah, it's like we're building our own utopias.
Yeah.
Brick by brick.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, what about time?
Yeah.
How does time function in utopian narratives?
Right, because it seems like it would operate differently
Yeah.
in these idealized societies.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, time plays this kind of peculiar role in Utopia.
Okay.
It's like these stories blend your own personal experience of like,
Yeah.
getting older
Yeah.
with this grand sweep of history.
Okay.
And the result is often this like feeling of timelessness.
Okay.
Like history has kind of reached
Yeah.
its ultimate goal.
So almost like stepping outside
Yes.
the everyday flow of time that we experience.
In a way, yeah. And like think about those science fiction stories
Right.
where characters live for centuries
Okay.
or experience reincarnation.
Right.
They're able to perceive these like vast historical cycles
Uh-huh.
in a way that we can't.
That's mind-boggling.
It is.
To be able to witness those
It is.
sweeping historical shifts.
Yeah, it is. And there's this other interesting point that Roland Barthes made about Utopia. He argued that the quotidian, like everyday life,
Okay.
is like a hallmark of utopian representation.
So even in these perfect societies,
Yeah.
people still go about their daily routines.
Absolutely. Even in Utopia, people eat, sleep, work,
Yeah.
experience the mundane aspects of life.
Right.
Barthes suggested that it's this very ordinariness
Okay.
that makes Utopia relatable
Okay.
and believable.
So if it was all grandeur and philosophical debates, it wouldn't feel very human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's shift our focus to the idea of wish fulfillment in utopian literature.
Okay.
Utopian texts often function as these like expressions of our deepest desires.
So almost Freudian.
It is quite Freudian.
Yeah.
Jameson draws on Freud's analysis of daydreams
Yeah.
to explain this.
Okay.
He suggests that there's this tension
Yeah.
between our like personal egoistic wishes
Okay.
and the more universalized desires that are presented in like art.
So it's not just about what I as an individual want. It's about what we as a society
Yes.
collectively desire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Utopian narratives need to resonate with like
Yeah.
a wider audience. I need to tap into these like shared aspirations
Okay.
and anxieties.
And that's where the details.
Where the details
Scale.
become really fascinating.
Yeah. What are some examples of
Okay.
how those details reveal a deeper meaning?
Well, take Moore's Utopia, for instance.
Okay.
He describes customs like naked exhibitions before marriage
Why?
and using gold for chamber pots.
Hmm.
These details might seem strange
Yeah.
or even humorous to us now.
They definitely raise a few eyebrows.
They do, but they offer this like glimpse into Moore's views on like
Yeah.
morality and the value of material possessions.
Right. Yeah.
These details are like little windows into
Yeah.
the author's mind,
Yeah.
but they also reflect these like
Mm.
broader societal anxieties
Okay.
of their time.
So even in Utopia,
Right.
we can't escape the complexities
We can't.
of our own world.
No, we're just grappling with them through a different lens.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what about the portrayal of gender roles
Right.
in utopian societies?
Right.
That's always such a complex
Yeah.
and often revealing topic.
It is, and the depictions can be quite telling.
Yeah.
Like take B.F. Skinner's Walden 2, for example.
Okay.
Even though it's presented as this like progressive utopia,
Yeah.
it still upholds these like traditional gender roles,
Okay.
with women primarily responsible for like domestic tasks.
Even in a supposedly perfect society.
It is.
Wow.
Now, this could reflect Skinner's own like unconscious biases
Yeah.
or just like the societal norms
Okay.
that were prevalent during his time.
Yeah.
William Morris's News from Nowhere
Uh-huh.
also depicts this kind of like idealized version of Victorian gender roles.
So it seems like even when we're imagining
Right.
perfect society,
Yeah.
we can't entirely shake off the baggage of our own time.
It's true.
Yeah.
These subtle details
Yeah.
underscore this like intricate relationship
Yeah.
between utopia and the real world.
For sure.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget about
Right.
the emergence of feminist utopias
Right.
in like the 1960s and 70s.
Exactly.
These works like directly challenged
Yeah.
those traditional gender roles
Yes.
and envisioned societies founded on equality and female empowerment.
Yeah, they mark a significant shift
Okay.
in how we envision gender.
Yeah,
in an idealized society,
totally.
you know?
So it seems like even the concept of utopia is constantly evolving,
It is.
mirroring
Yeah.
those social and political changes
Ah,
happening in the real world.
It is. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we're going to
Yes.
embark on the final leg
Okay.
of our journey
Awesome.
for this part of the deep dive.
Let's go.
We're venturing into the realm of science fiction
Okay.
to explore how utopian thought intersects with the concept of the other.
Okay.
So specifically, how do we grapple with alien life
Right.
in our visions of utopia?
Questions.
Big questions.
Yeah.
Aliens and utopias.
Right?
It's like the
Yeah.
perfect blend of fascinating and mind-bending.
We'll get ready to be challenged.
Okay.
Because we're about to delve into Stanislaw Lem's unknowability thesis,
Okay.
which argues that alien life is fundamentally beyond human comprehension.
So are you saying we can't even begin to fathom
Yeah.
what alien life would be like?
That's the core of Lem's argument.
Okay.
He believed that our human perception and understanding are just simply not equipped
Okay.
to grasp something so radically different from ourselves.
That's a chilling thought,
It is.
but also kind of exciting.
It is.
What are the implications then
Yeah.
of encountering something so utterly beyond our grasp?
That's what Lem explores in his novel, Solaris.
Okay.
You know, humans encounter this sentient ocean.
On a distant planet,
Uh-huh.
and despite their best efforts,
Okay.
they fail to understand its motives
Sure.
or its true nature.
So a total breakdown of communication.
Exactly.
A complete inability to connect with something truly alien.
It stands in stark contrast
Yeah.
to this more common, two alien situation
Okay.
that we see in a lot of science fiction,
Yeah.
where aliens are either benevolent or malevolent,
Yeah.
good or evil.
The classic.
Yeah.
They're either here to help us or destroy us.
Exactly.
Not a lot of nuance there.
Not a lot of nuance.
Right.
Lem challenges that simplistic view
Okay.
by presenting this alien entity that just defies our comprehension entirely.
Okay.
It's a more unsettling,
Yeah.
but arguably more realistic approach,
Okay.
at least philosophically.
So where do we go from here? If we
Yeah.
can't even understand alien life,
Right.
how can we possibly imagine utopias
Right.
that include them?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's one that science fiction authors have been wrestling with for decades.
Okay.
Some works like Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama
Okay.
offer these glimpses of encounters
Okay.
with truly enigmatic
Yeah.
alien objects,
Okay.
leaving us with more questions than answers.
So it seems like the mystery itself becomes the point.
Yeah.
Almost forces us to reevaluate
Yes.
our assumptions about life and intelligence.
Exactly.
It's a very thought-provoking concept.
It is.
For sure.
So when we return for the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we're going to shift our focus to the potential decline
Okay.
of the utopian impulse
Okay.
in contemporary society.
Okay.
We'll explore how factors like technological advancements
Gotcha.
and the rise of dystopian narratives
Okay.
might be shaping our vision of the future.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. It's only going to get more thought-provoking from here.
Okay, great.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Hey,
Welcome back to our deep dive into Utopia.
thanks for having me back.
We've been exploring so many different facets of it,
So many.
from its historical evolution to how it even intersects with alien life.
Yeah, it's a big concept
It's a really big concept.
to tackle.
It's fascinating how Utopia
Yeah.
can be both hopeful and kind of unsettling at the same time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's that inherent tension, right,
Yeah.
between our desire for a better world
Yeah.
and then the realization that perfection might not actually be attainable.
Yeah, and in the last part,
Yeah.
you hinted at a potential decline of the utopian impulse
Mm.
in our modern world. It's
Yeah.
like those grand visions of these perfect societies are fading
Right.
as technology advances
Yeah.
and we see more dystopian stories.
I think it's a great observation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not so much a disappearance
Okay.
as a shift in focus.
Okay.
You know, if you think back to the so-called golden age of science fiction,
Right.
you had all these sweeping visions
Yeah.
of space exploration
Mhm.
and societal utopias.
Yeah.
But as science itself became more complex,
Yeah.
maybe the focus shifted away from those grand societal dreams
Okay.
and toward more individualistic or
Uh-huh.
technological concerns.
Were we getting too bogged down
Yeah.
in the nuts and bolts of the technology?
It's a possibility.
Okay.
And you see this reflected in the rise of genres like fantasy and cyberpunk.
Okay.
Fantasy offers this escape
Yeah.
from the complexities of the real world,
Yeah.
while cyberpunk, even though it's often set in the future,
Right.
it tends to focus on like the darker consequences
Yeah.
of technological advancement.
It's a more pessimistic view
It is a more pessimistic view,
of
for
living
sure.
the future.
Right.
Yeah, it's like we're trading in those shiny space cities
Yeah.
for like gritty, neon-lit streets
Exactly.
full of cybernetic enhancements and societal decay. Does that mean we become too cynical
That's a good question.
to imagine a better future?
I don't know if it's cynical,
Okay.
but maybe more aware
Okay.
of like the challenges and the potential pitfalls
Yeah.
of progress.
Yeah.
You know, our utopian dreams are now tinged with these
Um,
shadows of our own anxieties about
yeah.
technology, inequality, environmental collapse.
That's a very sobering thought.
Yeah.
So what about utopia?
Yeah.
In a globalized world, like
Yeah.
how do we even conceive of a perfect society
Yeah.
when everything feels so interconnected and complex?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
You know, the traditional model
Okay.
of like a single all-encompassing utopia
Yeah.
might not actually be feasible
Okay.
in our increasingly interconnected world.
So maybe we need to embrace
Right.
a different approach.
I think so.
What kind of approach are you thinking of?
Well, some thinkers have proposed this world reduction approach.
Okay.
So instead of aiming for one grand utopia,
Huh?
what if we focused on creating a network of smaller, more localized utopias?
So like pockets of utopia.
Yeah, like enclaves
Okay.
or heterotopias,
Okay.
spaces that operate
Mm-hmm.
according to their own distinct values and principles.
So each with its own like
Exactly.
unique flavor and
Okay.
approach to a better life.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging
Okay.
that there's no one-size-fits-all solution
Yeah.
to creating a perfect society.
Yeah.
Different communities might have different ideas
Yeah.
about what constitutes a good life.
Right.
And that diversity should be celebrated.
So it's a more adaptable
Right.
and perhaps more realistic vision
Yeah.
of utopia
Yeah,
in a world that's increasingly fragmented and diverse.
exactly.
So what are some of the ideas
Yeah.
for how these utopian enclaves might function?
Well, one idea is federalism,
Okay.
which allows for greater autonomy and self-governance
Well,
within a larger political structure.
okay.
So each community would have more control
Okay.
over its own affairs.
So each community would have the freedom
Yeah.
to chart its own course,
Right.
choosing the path that best aligns with its values.
Precisely, another idea is the right to migration.
Okay.
You know, people could freely move
Yeah.
between different utopian communities,
Yeah.
choosing the one that best suits their needs
Okay.
and aspirations.
So almost like a utopian marketplace
Exactly.
of ideas and lifestyles.
It's a very dynamic system,
Yeah.
constantly evolving as people move and share ideas.
Yeah.
And some thinkers have even proposed radical ideas,
Okay.
like tax abolition,
Okay.
arguing that it would give individuals and communities more freedom
Uh-huh.
and resources
Okay.
to pursue their own utopian projects.
So these ideas are really pushing us
They are.
to rethink the foundations
They are.
of how societies operate.
It's about challenging the status quo
Yeah.
and exploring new ways of organizing ourselves,
Yeah.
new ways of living together.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities.
It is.
But are these ideas actually achievable?
Right.
Or are they just flights of fancy?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there are certainly challenges
Yeah.
to implementing these ideas in the real world.
Yeah.
But the point is that we need to keep thinking creatively,
Okay.
keep imagining different possibilities,
Yeah.
and keep pushing the boundaries
Uh.
of what's possible.
So it seems like the utopian impulse,
Yeah.
though it may be taking on new forms,
Yeah,
it's still alive and well.
it is. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we'll explore how those utopian aspirations might be playing out
Okay.
in the real world,
Okay.
even if they don't always look like
Yeah.
the grand sweeping visions of the past.
Okay.
Stay with us.
Welcome back to our deep dive on Utopia.
Glad to be here.
We've made it to part 3.
We did it.
We have explored so much
It's been long.
from the historical roots
Yeah.
to even its potential future in a globalized world.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
And I think, you know, we've come to this
Yeah.
crucial understanding that utopia is not
Yep.
about achieving some like static state
Yeah.
of perfection.
Right.
You know, it's an ongoing process, a
Yeah.
continuous striving
Yeah.
for improvement.
So more about the journey than the destination.
Exactly.
So how do we navigate that journey
Yeah.
in a world that often feels
Right.
very far from ideal?
That's where the concept of realism comes in.
Okay.
I think we need to balance
Yeah.
those kind of lofty utopian aspirations
Yeah.
with a clear-eyed understanding
Okay.
of like the challenges
Mhm.
and complexities
Yeah.
of the real world.
So not ignoring the problems,
Right.
but actually confronting them head on
Exactly.
with this utopian spirit.
Exactly. And Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars trilogy
Okay.
offers this fascinating example
Okay.
of this approach.
Oh.
You know, his vision of colonizing
Uh-huh.
and terraforming Mars
Okay,
is
yeah.
so incredibly detailed
Okay.
and grounded in science.
Uh-huh.
He even like addresses
Okay.
the political and social complexities
Yeah.
of this massive undertaking.
So not just a whimsical space adventure.
No.
It feels very plausible.
Yeah, it feels like a plausible,
Yeah.
achievable future.
And what's so compelling about his work is that he doesn't shy away from
He
the
doesn't.
difficulties,
He doesn't.
the setbacks, the sheer amount of like collaboration and effort to make something like this happen.
Right. It's like he's laying out a roadmap
Yeah.
and saying, this is how we might actually build a better world,
Yeah.
step by step,
Yeah.
challenge by challenge.
That's what I find so inspiring about utopian thinking.
Uh-huh.
It's not about escaping reality. It's about transforming it for the better.
It is. And Robinson's Mars trilogy
Yeah.
is a testament
Yeah.
to that transformative power.
Yeah.
He shows us that even facing immense obstacles,
Yeah.
we can still strive for this more just
Yeah.
sustainable and fulfilling future.
But even in Robinson's Mars, there's still conflict,
Right.
disagreement.
Right.
Different factions have different visions for
Got it.
what that future should look like.
Utopia is not
Okay.
about achieving this like homogenous,
Okay.
conflict-free society.
Yeah.
It's about fostering this ongoing dialogue, negotiation,
Okay.
constant striving for
Yeah.
improvement.
So a dynamic system where different ideas
Yes.
and perspectives can coexist
Yes.
and even contribute.
And this is where I think
Yeah.
that world reduction approach
Yeah.
that we talked about earlier
Uh-huh.
becomes so relevant.
Okay.
You know, instead of trying to impose one grand monolithic utopia,
Yeah.
maybe we need to create this mosaic
Okay.
of different utopian communities,
Okay.
each with its own values and practices.
So embracing diversity as a strength.
Exactly, a source of innovation
Yeah.
and adaptation.
It's like a utopian ecosystem
I love that.
where different species of ideas
Yes.
can coexist
It is.
and even benefit from each other.
Exactly. And it reminds us that utopia isn't
Yeah.
some distant,
Yeah.
unattainable ideal.
Yeah.
It's something we can build
Yeah.
piece by piece
Yeah.
right here and now.
Right.
It starts with our choices,
Yeah.
our actions,
Mhm.
and our unwavering belief
Yeah.
in a better future.
So as we wrap up
Yeah.
this deep dive into utopia,
Uh-huh.
it's clear that it's not just a destination,
Right.
but a journey
Yeah.
that requires imagination,
Yeah.
collaboration,
Totally.
and a willingness to embrace the complexities
Yes.
of our world.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
it's a journey fueled by hope.
Yeah.
Hope for a future
Uh-huh.
where we can overcome our limitations and create societies that are more just, equitable,
Yeah.
and fulfilling for everyone.
So to all our listeners out there, keep that hope alive.
Yes.
Keep exploring, keep questioning,
Absolutely.
and keep striving for those utopian possibilities.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Who knows, maybe someday
Yeah.
we'll even discover those utopian enclaves,
Right.
those pockets of hope
Yeah.
and progress
Exactly.
right here in our own world.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep your minds open
For sure.
and your utopian spirits high.
Absolutely.